Hello everyone, day 2 of the World's Strongest Man 2025 is done, and this day was full of excitement, full of drama, and of course we found out who made it in to the World's Strongest Man final. And I've got to say, I backed my boys, I backed the British guys, Shane and Paddy, through to the final. I am absolutely ecstatic about that, but we'll get to all that throughout this video. But before we jump in to the events and what happened, I want to say if you're new here and you're enjoying the World's Strongest Man coverage, go down below, click subscribe on the channel, and stay up to date with absolutely everything strongman related. Over here, I do my own training and we do all the pro strongman stuff. But now that shameless plug is out the way, let's go group by group, event by event, and run through the day. So first up then we had the Titans toss, and I actually really enjoyed the sound of this event on Strongman Radio because I was getting incredibly bored of just normal sandbag runs for quickest time. I'm liking the longer 10 bag run with greater distances. It sounds like it was really fun, full of drama, lots happening, and it shook things up massively. Now, I know, again, the groups went out of order, but I'm just going to go from group 1 to group 5, and we will talk about exactly what happened. So in group 1, then we had Tom Stoltman taking the win on this event with an absolutely blistering 10 bags in 31.97. That was a really, really good showing there from Tom. Not many people getting 10 bags really at all. And yeah, getting 10 in 31.97 was an absolutely awesome performance there. And then just behind him with 8 bags in 35.66 was Eddie Williams. And now this was getting me excited for Eddie. I am super happy for Eddie this competition. He has put in such a solid performance. And this, again, was there another event where he just did super well. Then we had Jacco Schoonwinkel getting 7 in 25.03 and Thomas Evans getting 7 in 29.06. So very close there, both getting 7. Then Austin Andrade, really unfortunately, in last place with 7 in 31.28. Now, 7 would have got him really good points in other groups, but this group just seemed to be a really good throwing group. So really unfortunate for Austin. This was all of what the nail in the coffin was for his finals chances. But, you know, it was still quite a decent performance. Like, obviously, Austin had a pretty bad day 1, but the overhead medley, the Titans toss, and stone medley, which we'll get to, all went his way. It just wasn't quite enough. So feel for Austin, but that was group 1. Group 2 then in the Titans toss, and almost expected, Wes Dawinski came out with the win here. 9 bags in 29.88, which is a very fast time for 9 bags. Just missing one of those bags, but Wesley's an awesome tosser, so kind of expected him to take the win in this event. Possibly, maybe expected Mitch, but not surprised at all to see Wes take the win there. And what surprised me was then in second place on this event was Matt Ragg with 9 in 32. Really good throwing performance from Matt Ragg. I really was happy to see that. Obviously, he's down in 5th in the group. Didn't have his best showing on the overhead medley and perhaps some of the other events as well. And that tie on the deadlift hurt him massively. But seeing him get a really good solid performance on this toss is great to see. And then somewhat surprisingly, in third place, we had Mitchell Hooper with 8 in 27.97. We were expecting Mitch to get all 10. But, you know, it's one of those events where you can make super easy mistakes. And we've seen a lot of people in this competition lose out on at least a couple of the bags. So not surprised to see Mitch here with 8 in 27.97. And then in 4th on this event, adding to the drama, was Paddy Haynes in 6 in 18.72. So doing enough to gain a couple points over Bryce Johnson, who got 4 in 17.75. But tightening that gap just enough to make the stone medley quite exciting. But yeah, that was Group 2, a really exciting one. Group 3 then, almost to be expected, we had Shane Flowers winning the bag toss, but only with 8 bags in 23.38. Now, Shane is a very, very good tosser. So to see him only getting 8 bags proves how tricky and how delicate you have to be with this bag toss. But Shane taking the win with a very quick 8 bags in 23:38. And just behind him, the South African sensation, Rain O'Neill, 8 in 29:41. A very, very good showing for him. And then just behind him was Lucas Hatton with 8 in 44:06. And then we had Mateusz getting 7 in 31:97. And sadly, Evans in last with 6 in 23:66. Not Evans' favourite event, this toss. And again, Lucas getting 8 in 44:06 would have been very good points in other groups, but only getting enough for third in this group. We knew this group was going to be hard for Lucas with the toss. And allegedly, he had a secret discus-like technique planned to be able to get all 10, but was told that he couldn't do it, which, I would have loved to see. It seems like a more interesting thing to allow athletes to do different techniques. I would love to see like a proper bag throw to distance where that technique is allowed, but it is what it is. That's the competition, unfortunately. But that had Reno and Shane up in 1 and 2. And again, made the Stone Medley very, very exciting. Group 4 then, this was actually one of the first groups out for the Titans toss. It might have been the first group out for the Titans toss. And we saw Maxime Boudreau come out, dick on the table, getting 10, win 46:91, which ended up being like the second best performance of the whole day. The only other man we saw get 10 was Tom Stoltman a good while later. So Maxime putting in a fantastic performance. And even though Maxime didn't make the final, Maxime put in a really good showing, and it was great to see an on-form Maxime after his performance at the Arnold's getting hindered by the biceps. So yeah, really nice to see Maxime come in and do well at this competition. I'm really excited to see Maxime back at other ones. And then in second place in this, we had Tristan with 7 in 29. And then third, we had Trey Mitchell with 6 in 27. And obviously, down in fourth, we had Andre Foytu 3 in 11:41. So this is what I mean where like Lucas's 8 in another group would have been second in this group. So I know a lot of good tossers stacked up in the other groups. And unfortunately, yeah, Andre's not favourite event this toss. Trey doing just enough to do what he can. And Tristan doing pretty damn well on this one. And then Group 5, we had Luke Stoltman taking the win on the toss with 9 in 34:81, which brought him right back into a very, very solid place for making the final. Luke putting in a fantastic performance with that throw. Those Stoltmans have been working hard at throwing by the looks of it. Then we had Nick Gardione in second on this with 8 in 28. Really pleased for Nick to come out and have a very good showing. Nick ended up very close to making the final, which is awesome to see. I knew the World's Strongest Man would be a good show for Nick. Not quite his year this year, but I'm sure if we see him back next year, it'll be a good one. Andy Flynn coming in as well, getting 6 in 20, coming third on this event. Another just solid performance from Andy. Loving the fact that Andy's here and he's doing very solid performances at World's Strongest Man and just looking like he's having a blast. And then Pavlo Kordiaka only getting 4 in 12:81, making that gap a little bit tighter between himself and a few of the other guys going into the Stone Medley. So there we have it. Going into the Stone Medley, that made things very exciting as we thought the toss might. It churned up the points massively and made the battles a really fun one. So on the Stone Medley in group number 1, this was probably one of the more interesting groups on the Stone Medley. Austin Andrade coming out, taking the win on that Stone Medley, which was absolutely fantastic for him to get a really solid performance in there. Not many people finishing the Stone Medley in the entire competition, so Austin doing 4 in 85:69. Really pleased for Austin to go out on a bang like that. Really happy to see. And then we had Eddie Williams in second in the Stone Medley, 2 implements plus 8.87 meters, securing his place in the World's Strongest Man final. So really happy for Eddie there. And then we had Tom Stoltman having an absolute drama on the Stone Medley here. He got 2 implements in 65:88, but he was having a massive fumble with that stone to shoulder. At one point, he went down to his knees with it on his shoulder. Looked really dangerous. And the worst part is he didn't really even need the Stone Medley to get into the final. It was just to go for the overall standing competition going into the heat. So That's what I will say. Having that extra incentive to do every event meant we saw everyone trying, everyone giving them all, including Mr. Tom Stoltman, which was absolutely brilliant. And then we had Yakko get one implement in 12.44. And then, unfortunately, Thomas Evans zeroing the event. So that was Yakko and Tom out of contention, unfortunately, and Eddie Williams and Tom Stoltman, our first two finalists. Group 2 then, and this group was stressful. So we had Mitchell Hooper take the win here, 4 in a blisteringly, disgustingly quick 56.22, like ridiculously fast there. And then in our second place, really happy for him, Paddy Haynes, 3 in 82.03. He got that stone press. He did what he needed to do. In this event, we had Bryce Johnson come third with 2 in 45. And how this ended up playing out was Bryce Johnson went out, put out a solid performance. Then Matt Ragg zeroed the event. And all we knew then was Wes Dowinski was coming out. And if Wes Dowinski did well on this event, it was going to be tough cookie for Paddy if he didn't get that stone press. But Wes actually ended up zeroing the event as well. A couple of zeros in this event, which meant that as long as Paddy got that stone press, he was definitely through to the final. In fact, I think he was through to the final before he even did it because of that zero. So it was stress, but we got there, and Paddy made the final along with, of course, Mitchell Hooper. So that is a fantastic, fantastic thing. Like you guys know, I know Paddy quite well, and he's just such an inspiration for the local, like English level of strongman. He's just, yeah, he's very similar to myself. Trains on his own at his parents' farm, has done it for a very long time, absolutely loves it. And to see him doing well at the World's Strongest Man, making the final, is super cool. It really is. It's just awesome. So big props, Paddy, and of course Mitch making the final. And I think Mitch as well got the overall most points, but we'll get to that later. Group 3 then on the Stone Medley. This was again another heartbreak group. We had Rain O'Neill coming out, getting all 4 in 62 seconds, proving that man can just do literally anything, comfortably winning the group. And then we had a lot of dramas going on in this group, with all other athletes only getting the stone press, with Shane Flowers getting it the most quick with 1 implement in 11 seconds. Evans and Anna getting 1 implement in 13 seconds. And then, unfortunately, Lucas Hatton getting 1 implement in 16 seconds. So this meant that Shane Flowers was comfortably through to the first World's Strongest Man final for him. And again, another guy I am super pleased to see in that final. Another British athlete. All of you guys, all of you Americans saying I'm too British-centric. Look at us now. We got 4 Brits in the final, and 2 of them are Englishmen. That's what we absolutely love to see. But I will say I am absolutely gutted to not see Lucas in that final with that Flintstone press there. And Lucas's final events are just very, very good for him. It's just tough to get out of those heats in World's Strongest Man. It is a tough competition, but I'm super pleased for both Rain O'Neill and Shane Flowers, 2 brand new finalists to World's Strongest Man. And I cannot wait to see what these 2 can do in the final. But shame for Lucas. He put in a very, very good fight. It ended up being quite close at the end, but at the end it was Reno and Shane. So Group 4 then, this one was all to play for after the toss, and it was an interesting one. So we had Trey Mitchell winning this event with 4 in 73, booking his place to the World's Strongest Man final. And then in second place, we had Andre Foytu getting 3 implements in 61.34, making his first World's Strongest Man final as well. Super pleased for Andre. The fact he's 23, as you all know, completely disgusts me that he's the same age as me, but he's doing big things. And perhaps Luke the Future Richardson just meant that the future was his client coming in at 23 years old and absolutely wrecking everything. Perhaps Andre should inherit that nickname from Luke now. And then we had Tristan Hoth doing very well actually at this event as well, getting 3 in 64.10. Not quite enough to make that final after a few poor performances, but always just solid thereabouts. Tristan obviously winning his group last year. And then Maxime Boudreau just getting the stone press in 9.81. 2 points, and sadly not getting into the World's Strongest Man final. So from this group, we had Trey Mitchell and Andre Foytu. And then group 5, we had Luke Stoltman winning the Stone Medley with 3 in 69.34, definitely booking his place to the World's Strongest Man final. And then we had Nick Gardione come out and get 3 in 71.84, getting 4 points. Pavlo Cordiaca getting 2 in 69.88, getting 3 points. And Andy Flynn just getting the stone press, but in a time of 70 seconds, getting 2 points. But because Andy Flynn went out first, this opened things up for Nick Gardione to come in and have a chance at making the final, because Nick did very well, and then we just had Pavlo and Luke to go, and it ended up being the case that if Nick had his good performance, which he did, and then Pavlo and Luke zeroed, we could have seen Nick Gardione in the final. But unfortunately, well, very fortunately, I will say, we had no zeros in this group, even though in a lot of the other groups we had some zeros. So both Luke and Pavlo off to the final. So that, of course, makes our 10 finalists: Tom Stoltman, Eddie Williams, Mitch Hooper, Paddy Haynes, Rain O'Neill, Shane Flowers, Trey Mitchell, Andre Foytu, Luke Stoltman, and Pavlo Cordiaca. A very diverse set of finalists, a lot of brand new finalists to World's Strongest Man, which is awesome. And it's going to make these finals predictions all over the place for people. It's going to be super, super interesting. But before we get into that, I will say the total points from 10th down to 1. And of course, Mitchell Hooper coming out, getting the 10 points, coming out the final. We didn't think he was going to do it after the deadlift, but we've seen how Mr. Consistent is just Mr. Consistent. Tom then in second with 9 points. Reno in third with 8. Trey Mitchell in fourth with 7. Luke Stoltman in fifth with 6. Paddy Haynes in sixth with 5. Shane Flowers in seventh with 4. Andre Foytu in 8th with 3, Pavlo Cordiaca in 9th with 2, and Eddie Williams in 10th with 1. So obviously, if you guys don't know, once we have our 10 finalists, the heats events are rescored just among those 10 athletes, and then whoever did the best overall is awarded 10 points, and the worst overall 1, and not like a normal event like I just read out, and those are the points going in to the finals events. So now, at the end of this video, I am going to attempt to make a World's Strongest Man finals prediction based on these athletes. And I think it's going to mix things up massively. So we'll start things off with the carry and hoist. I think this event is going to be a Mitch Hooper win. To be honest, I think Tom will be up there second or third as well. But we got some very, very fast athletes in, like Paddy, Shane, Pavlo Cordiaca. So the carry portion of that will be very, very quick. But how's their arm over arm? I think Trey Mitchell can have a decent showing on this. Probably not his favorite event, but he'll be up there. I expect Reno to be very good on this event. It's going to shake things up for sure. The 18-inch deadlift here really actually excites me because there's not a huge amount of strong elevated pullers. Like someone like Eddie Williams could do incredible at this event. I've not seen any 18-inch deadlift training from Eddie. I know Shane Flowers has been putting out some good numbers from the elevated height. Paddy's doing decent. I think for 1 and 2 on this event, though, I think we're going to have a Mitch Hooper and Trey Mitchell. And then I'd expect any number of like Eddie Williams, Paddy, Shane, someone like that being in the third place. But also Tom Stoltman could be up there. Elevated deadlifts are pretty good for him. Now, Herc hold is what is going to shake the standings up massively. Obviously, in the past, we've seen Tom not being so good at Herc hold, and we've got a lot of good Hercules holders having made the final. Eddie Williams is phenomenal at the Hercules hold. Paddy Haynes, of course, phenomenal at anything grip related. Mitch Hooper is likely to do very, very well here. I could see Trey Mitchell doing well. Reno's just good at everything, so I could see him doing well. There's lots of guys here that could put up a very decent time on the Herc hold, and I think the Herc hold is what is going to shake things up the most in this competition. And then Flintstone Barbell, of course, I think out of this lineup, we're looking like Mitch Hooper or Trey Mitchell up at the 1 and 2. Tom Stoltman's absolutely fantastic as well at Flintstone Barbell. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in 2 or 1 on this event. But if he executes, I think that event is now Mitch Hooper's to lose with no Lucas Hatton in the final. But I'm super excited to see Andre Foytu and Pavlo Cordiaca on this Flintstone Barbell. They could cause some upsets for people. Obviously, incredibly powerful and explosive athletes. And then the Atlas Stones at the end here is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, I think Tom Stoltman can win these Atlas Stones, but I think Paddy Haynes can come in and cause some problems on these stones. Shane's a very good stone lifter. Obviously, Trey Mitchell, Luke Stoltman, very good at stones. And Mitch will be good at stones as well. So it's going to be an absolute bloodbath at the stones, and I would not be shocked if this competition comes down to a good stone run. It's going to be a tough one to predict, but I'm going to stick with my gut. I think overall in the standings, I think Tom Stoltman is going to be in second place. I think Mitchell Hooper is going to do enough to win. I just think with that 18-inch deadlift in there, Tom not having the advantage going in, so only having 9 points to Mitch's 10, I think that 1 point is going to be the make or break, to be honest. And I think in third place on the podium, I think we're going to have Trey Mitchell. So I think it's going to be a Mitch Hooper win, Tom Stoltman second, Trey Mitchell third, which has been my podium throughout the entire thing. And I think it's going to stick there. But honestly, who knows? This competition has shaken all predictions all over the place. We just absolutely have no idea. I mean, who had that group of athletes making the final? I don't think anyone did. Let's see how many finalists I got right out of my predictions. I got Mitch Hooper, I got Tom Stoltman, I got Trey Mitchell, I got Paddy, I got Shane, and that's it. I got half of the finalists correct, and I am missing Luke Richardson, I am missing Evan Singleton, I'm missing Nick Guardione was one of my finalists, I believe. Austin, I'm missing Austin. Austin is another one that I'm missing, and I'm missing Mateusz, of course. So, yeah, some of the normal names we'd expect to be there, obviously. Luke and Evan becoming injured, Mateusz being ill, and then Austin not having his best day, and Nick not having his best day. So I backed the Texas boys, but they didn't come through for me today, and the other guys were just unfortunate illness and injury. So I will say my predictions weren't that bad. 50% on a World's Strongest Man final is not too terrible. And the amount of shit I got for not predicting Lucas in the final and predicting Shane in his place, well, you know, stuff happens. This is Strongman. Everything's all over the place. I was secretly hoping Lucas would make it because I do want to see him on these final events, but I will sit on my high horse and say I got the prediction right on that one. But that is that. That is the end of day 2. I am very excited going into the finals now for what can happen. We have got lots of upsets waiting to happen for us, and I cannot wait to see who comes out on top. So if you enjoyed this video, go down below, click like on the video, and subscribe. Comment down below who you expected to make the final that didn't. What was the biggest shock addition to the final for you guys? I think Eddie Williams came out and just completely not surprised me because he's just getting better and better, but he just proved everyone that he absolutely is one of the best in the world now, making the World's Strongest Man final. Super happy for my British guys. I'll see you in the next one.